Hello and welcome to today's podcast episode, where we dive into the weird and wonderful tasks that fall under other duties as assigned. I'm Nicole.
I'm Killian.
I'm Drew.
Today's episode is very unusual because we're recording in front of a live studio audience. Let's hear from them. So why are we doing this today? Well, we're doing a special event at the Bloomfield Cable TV studio where community members can learn all about the great resources here at BCTV. So let's talk about our topic.
Yes.
All right. So what do librarians actually do? Like, how can we explain this in the best way possible?
This is very much not the things we went to school intending to do.
Yeah.
These are the things that kind of popped up when we got the jobs and just became part of our jobs or things that we have to deal with.
Yeah, in every application you see other duties as assigned down at the bottom.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's like unique to librarianship, but ours are just weird.
They are very weird. And I think when I first started working in libraries, I was like, I wonder what that's all about. So we're going to talk about some of those things today. Let's discuss some of the odd things that have just become part of our job.
It's the weird thing for me has always been the things that I'm interested in outside of work that then become part of work. Mm-hmm. So personally, I am into games a lot, and so I do video games, board games, tabletop role-playing games, that sort of thing. And that has really become a big part of what I do at the library. Mm-hmm. I've done some D&D sessions for kids. I have done escape room design. And if you had told, grad school me, who was going to be a librarian, hey, you're going to be running Dungeons & Dragons and designing escape rooms, I never would have believed it.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about working in libraries. In some cases, we're able to really create programming that kind of feeds into what our strengths are. And I don't know that you really find that in a lot of other careers where we're able to have a program. For example, one of my coworkers started a program called Crayon to Crochet, which is a program that we did for the summer reading program this year. And kids were able to draw a creature of some kind, a literary creature, something that has to do with the summer reading program on a white sheet of paper, and then they would turn them in to us. And we then went through almost 150 submissions that were given to us, and we chose 6 of those things to turn into actual crocheted creatures that we then gave to those kids. So bringing in something from home that we really like and being able to do it in the library, and then also offering that to the community, I think that's really cool.
It was also so fun to watch you guys do those. They ended up so cute.
Oh my gosh, the kids, we had a reception for them. So the kids got to come in, they could bring their families, and we had special treats for them. And then we did a great reveal, and the kids were just so happy to see this little creature that they created themselves. It was really, really fun.
I'm still obsessed with Rhino Train.
Rhino Truck.
Rhino Truck.
Rhino Truck.
I'm so sorry to the creator of Rhino Truck.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
No, yeah. My favorite thing about the library world in general is how each individual librarian sort of crafts what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Even in my adult and teen services department, where we have, I think, 10 librarians, none of our jobs look remotely similar, other than existing on the public service desk for 3 hours a day.
Sure.
One of the things that I got to create once I got here that I had no idea was coming was the English language conversation group at the library. It started because when I got hired in, the librarian who left ran the World Languages collection.
Okay.
And that's how it fell into my lap. It started as a patron comment, I think, that came in on a comment card, and the supervisor was like, hey, you want to do this? It's your collection. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I've never. Okay, sure. It started off terribly. We actually canceled it once and just let it die for 6 months. But then I ended up teaming up with a tutor of the Oakland Literacy Council, and we've grown it into this really, really cool thing. that meets every week for 2 hours.
Wow.
And when COVID hit, we switched to all Zoom programming.
Okay.
And that let us reach out to a lot of former members. Here in Michigan, we get a lot of families who are here on 3-year work exchanges.
Okay.
And oftentimes the spouses don't get work visas when they come, so they need things to fill their time.
Sure.
But it means we have a really rotating cast of characters in that group.
Yeah.
So we were able to reach out to past members, and several of them are still, meeting with us every week from their home countries.
Nice.
So
Do you guys ever have parties and like everybody brings in food from?
We do.
Oh, I love that.
We do. We do that
wonderful.
every December. But yeah, I never, got a librarian degree thinking I'd be on a weekly conference call with like Italy and Mexico and South Korea.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Right. Totally.
Kind of related. This.
Right?
Yes.
None
the
of us went into
podcast.
libraries expecting to do this.
Yeah. The funny thing about the podcast is it had started off as Emily, our other partner in crime, was doing this lovely read aloud program where you could listen to her read classic stories. And I had heard that read aloud and I was like, oh, I want to do a podcast, but like maybe we should kind of piggyback on what Emily's doing. And so we did something similar for the youth department. And I read My Father's Dragon like in a series of chapters, and Killian was in on that too, and another librarian. And it wasn't wildly popular, as you can imagine. However, I was able to convince my supervisor that like we could still do something like that, but maybe make it more conversational and have it be more interdepartmental, because Drew's from adult services and Killian and I are from youth services. So the four of us, what was the four of us and what will be the four of us, having the different experiences that we have as librarians in the library is all kind of an interesting little melting pot.
Yeah.
So
It was interesting how it all came together too. Is I got full-time at the library about 1.5 years ago, and in the interview process said that it was something that I'd be interested in doing.
sure.
And when the interview process was over, and I was already working at the library for years and years after that, or before that rather. So I sat with, my department head after and was like, hey, do you really want to do this? And I'm like, absolutely, sign me up. And it snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a process.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
we all have such a great time doing this. It's really fun.
What are some of the other things that you've done for the library that?
Odd things that, a presenter's assistant. So sometimes at the library we have large programs that come in, especially during summer reading. We'll have outside groups come in. And for the youth department, we do really fun things, like we'll have animal groups, or we'll have Baffling Bill, who's a magician, come into the library. And because I'm the one helping or wrangling this presenter, I get to be their honorary assistant. So when Baffling Bill came in, he has this little rabbit named Gus, and Gus is lovely. He's wonderful, and yes, literally pulling a rabbit out of the hat situation. But after the program, Baffling Bill wanted me to just hold Gus and let every person that was in that program pet him. So I held him in this little magic hat and let all of the kids pet this little rabbit, and it was, that just makes me so happy. It was not part of my job, but it became part of my job, and that's cool. So.
The other thing for me is getting involved with all of the social media and marketing for the library. We have people throughout the library doing marketing for different departments and different events and things like that. And then each department sends 1 or 2 people to our marketing committee. And when another librarian in our department wanted to kind of stop doing that to focus on something else, I was asked to step in. And I have since become one of the go-to people for our social media for the youth department. So my phone gallery now is the most chaotic thing ever because it's full of all of these pictures where I take pictures of our stuffed animals playing with our STEAM kits, or looking out the window, or trying to read a book. And, I did not expect to be wrestling with the giant teddy bear to get it to hold a book because it doesn't, in fact, have hands that hold things. And so now my phone is full of all of these really random pictures.
What's the name of the teddy bear, Killian?
Ted E. Bear.
There it is.
Yeah, and that was decided by our lovely little patrons at the library, which is very cute.
At a previous job that I worked, I was a digital services librarian there, so I started a memory lab. And that was sort of expected for the gig because it applied to technology and all of that. But it was an area where we could convert people's old media files. Mm-hmm. So they were on camcorder tapes or VHS or things like that, and get them into digital format. And going into it, I had sort of a clinical understanding of that. But then you get sort of into the specific patrons, and like you're watching people's holiday celebrations in the 70s.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Their home videos on the boat in the 90s, and they're pointing to themselves like, yeah, I was that little 4-year-old. Like, that's what is happening? What is my life?
That's really cool. Wow. I'm sure people really appreciated that too.
It's a cool service.
It is a cool service. Yeah. Okay, so another thing that we sometimes think about is like the odd events that happen in the library. A library is a public space, and let's be honest, public spaces sometimes are just
chaos.
They can be it can be strange sometimes.
Is this when I get to talk about the squirrel?
Yes, please talk about the squirrel.
Okay. This summer we had 2 squirrels in the library. So we had our bricks treated for weather treatments on our terrace, and because of that, the trash can got moved significantly closer to the door. We didn't realize this was the catalyst for what was going to happen, but a squirrel got into the library one morning, like 11:30, and every single person with head or director in their job title was chasing the squirrel around with butterfly nets and
anything we could
cardboard
find.
boxes,
yard signs that had not been picked up yet.
People were taking their sweaters off of their chairs in their offices and trying to like just corral the squirrel out the door. The squirrel refused, had nothing, did not want anything to do with that door.
So we got the squirrel. They got the squirrel out. And then like an hour and a half later, a second squirrel got in because we hadn't realized that the trash can was the problem.
And the door was open again when we let the other squirrel out.
And that squirrel lived in the library for like 4 days.
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was out for a day before any of us knew it was out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were all very concerned.
So we learned our lesson from the first squirrel and sort of just wrangled it into a corner and trapped it with tables and blankets in a booth. Mm-hmm. And then we just left it there overnight and let animal control come in first thing in the morning. They were going to be there like 2 hours before the library opened. Everything was going to be perfect. They showed up. They released the squirrel. They did not catch the squirrel.
And just continued to run around our adult fiction collection and science fiction collection.
And it, of course, learned from this experience.
Yes.
It became a lot harder
Yes.
to trap and to, like, get in places. So there were traps that were brought in to try and lure it in with food. I wasn't there for any of this. I'm getting updates about this via Messenger and just going, what is... I left for a few days. What happened?
And we leaned fully into it. We did a social media post that our assistant director put up with a short video of all of the staff members chasing the squirrel with the caption like, if you want to learn more about squirrels, you can find them at 599.36 in the Dewey Decimal System. It was chaos.
To this day, at least as of this recording, there is still a stuffed squirrel sitting on the youth desk that does in fact have a Bloomfield Township Library staff badge.
Yeah.
So
Timmy Tiptoes is what we named him.
There was contention on that too because every department wanted to
Yes.
claim a name.
Yes.
I think one of them wanted to call him Marvin or Martin or something along those lines. I don't. But you guys already had the template for creating fake staff badges.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Because we needed it for our giant skeleton.
and then Ted.
And then Ted. Yes.
I miss Garbanzo.
Yeah,
Me
I miss
too.
Garbanzo too. Speaking of which, Garbanzo, that's an event
Also
in the
a
library.
weird thing.
Garbanzo was our youth services mascot for a good long time. He was a life-size skeleton and lovely, and he would just move around the library, and kids would come in and they'd take pictures with it and they'd hug him. And then a patron accidentally took him apart in front of children, like took his body parts apart. It was like just ripped him into 2 pieces, and we were like, "No, Garbanzo!" And we had to find a new mascot.
And in the process of doing that, did in fact throw him a retirement party within the department, complete with a cake. And he has retired to one of our department members' homes for the Halloween season.
Yes.
So,
Hey,
I didn't know that part.
oh yeah.
isn't that great?
That's amazing.
All right. So other odd events in the library.
Sometimes things just don't go the way we plan them. We've had a few events that we really don't expect to be quite as popular as they end up being. The biggest one and probably most impactful for me personally was the 2017 Eclipse event.
Which doesn't sound like it would be a big deal, but it was at the library.
So we made some critical errors in that one.
We didn't realize that the media hype was going to like tell everyone to go to libraries. And we had a good number of Eclipse classes, and we were like, yes, okay, this is going to be great. We're solid.
We had something like 1,300.
It was, yeah. And there were just so many people. And there was no way to expect that it was going to be quite that chaotic. I think it was the perfect storm of, like I said, the media talking it up and talking specifically about go to your libraries to get glasses. The fact that it was the middle of summer so people could bring their kids and like wanted to make a whole event of it. Because the last event that the last Eclipse wasn't nearly as chaotic, but it was the middle of the school year.
Right.
That's also where we learned our lesson. When we did the one in 2017, we didn't release the glasses until that day.
Oh,
And that was the big problem, because when people showed up to get them, they started forming a line.
yes.
And then that line snaked around the building and then went out of the building and then went into the parking lot and then down Timberlake and started affecting Telegraph. And we had no idea what to do.
Yeah. But that also ended up like when we had summer reading, we had last year, 2023, we had way more people show up for the kickoff for that as well. So we've started for anything that we think might be really big, looking into
alternative parking and having shuttles
and things like that
to bring people to the library. And we're so blessed because it's like we're so glad that people are using the library. These are wonderful events. It really shows that the community appreciates us. But sometimes we're just not ready. We're just not ready for that number of
we
people.
underestimate the interest.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah.
Another one that happened to for me, back when I was working in the youth room, they did a weird sciences program.
Okay.
And one of the stations was a kiddie pool that they filled with soap and put a cinder block in the center of. And then the kids would step onto the cinder block, and a staff member, which ended up being me, would take a hula hoop from the soap water and raise it up above the child so they could be encased in like a bubble cocoon.
It was
Okay.
you because you're tall, wasn't it?
It was me because I'm tall. And that was a blast. The kids had so much fun. They would like try and poke the bubbles and like it would pop all around them. They had so much fun. The people in the room can probably tell I am not the most athletically inclined. And I was not physically prepared for what 3 hours worth of squats would do
Yes.
to my life and my body.
Oh my goodness.
I ended up having to call in sick the next day because I could not walk. The knees were not kneeing.
No. That's fantastic.
It was bad.
And a small part of me is like, we should do that again for the library, but
You
we're not
should do
asking.
that again.
We're not asking Drew to do it.
And
You
not
should-
for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to weird questions. We do get weird questions. We work at the public service desk, and people will ask weird questions sometimes, and we're always like, where did that come from?
My personal favorite is always a variant of, will you come home with me?
Yes, but not in any particular way. It's more like, will you come do a birthday party for my children?
Mine was always, will you come set up my printer or my streaming services?
Yeah,
And for the
there's-
record, we can't do that.
No.
The library would not be very happy with us if we did that.
There are several of my programs that we've had people, oh, can you come do this, like, just for my kid and their friends or for a birthday party? I'm just like, no, I
Yeah.
can't.
I did an origami program, and I had one of the families had approached me afterwards and said, could you tutor origami for my child? And I was like, this sounds like a great opportunity, but I'm going to have to pass on that.
Yeah.
It sounded like it would be really fun.
It's one of those things, if I had more free time in my life,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't.
One of my favorite weird questions was a couple who wanted to have their engagement photos taken in the library.
Oh, okay.
So they showed up, they were fully decked out. It was,
They just showed up to do it?
they did arrange it with admin, but we had no idea.
Oh, okay.
So they asked us, and our response was, that sounds really cool. Talk to the people you should talk to.
Sure.
And then it was like 2 months later, they did just come and show up, and none of us were really expecting it.
Yeah.
Fully arranged. They were within their rights, but like the people at the desk had no idea. So they spent, I think, 20 minutes taking really, really cute photos.
Mm-hmm.
The bride would like lay on the short wavy stacks that we have.
Okay.
It was
that's
super, super cute.
That's a cute idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing with being such a geographically large library, but also we've got several departments that are all kind of doing their own thing. Sometimes things just get a little bit misdirected as we get through things, and it causes some weird miscommunication, things like that.
Yeah. When I worked at a different library that was part of the library was a historic home, I once had a group come up to the reference desk and ask if they could stay the night because they wanted to set up their ghost watching gear. And I was like, I'm going to have you ask my director about that because I can't answer that question. Great idea, but it's up to my boss.
It would have been so cool.
It would have been so cool. Yeah.
One of my favorites that happened in the past, when I was working at a different library, a guy in, I want to say his 80s, called me over to his computer. I was working the computer help desk at the time, and he wanted me to read over what his planned response was going to be on his dating apps that he had pulled up on the computer.
That's fantastic.
And at first I thought he wanted me to just proof it for grammar, and I'm like, sure, that this is a little weird, but I can absolutely do this for you. And then he said, no, I know that's good, but like, does this sound like something you'd say? And my, I think, exact words back to him were, sir, I'm gay and in my 20s. You don't want it to sound like me.
That would not be helpful for you. Oh my goodness.
That's kind of up there with all of the filling things out on the computer. People need help with computers a lot in libraries, and it's one of the great things that libraries are able to offer. We also aren't experts in a bunch of other fields, so we can't do things like help you fill out your taxes or help with legal paperwork or things like that. But they do get asked frequently.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want me doing that. It will not go well. I don't know how to do that, actually.
We must look awfully trustworthy.
We must.
Yeah. Okay, so librarians, because of all of these things that we talked about today, I feel like we have superpowers in some ways, or we have acquired superpowers. And so we have like these surprising skills that we've developed over time as working as librarians. So one of the things that I have learned is that I can sing and dance in front of anybody. I'm not going to do that today, but I can because I do it in front of children pretty regularly, and it's great. And so, yeah. What about you guys?
I think my favorite, it's not particularly strange in the library world, but it is one of my favorite skills, is to be able to take a very limited description of a book or something that someone is looking for, and usually between myself and the internet, figure out what someone is looking for. Because people are always really impressed when they come in with like a vague plot point that they remember and that the cover was blue.
Yes,
And
the
you
cover
can-
is blue and there's a dog. Can you find it for me?
And the ability to just get them to give you more information than they think they have, and then figure out with all those little bits and pieces what book it is really fun.
Absolutely.
I think connected to that is also the ability to talk about anything, whether I've read it or not.
Yes. Yes.
I do. I end up with a lot of book talk programs. We have a regular speed dating with a book program that happens twice a year. I'll do quarterly visits to the senior center and do book talks. And I am a relatively fast reader, but especially with like current titles, I'm not the most up to date, but I have to be the most up to date. So I fake being the most up to date, and it goes shockingly well at this point.
Nice.
We do that a lot in youth too, with our visits to schools at the end of the year. There are some people that are very insistent they will have read every part of every single book that they're book talking.
That's me.
I cannot. It used to be me. But I have too many other things that I want to read and not enough time. So I have figured out how to do it. It is better when I've read them, and I do try to read as many of them as possible, but I still can, even without having read them.
I love the personal challenge sometimes when families come into the library and they're like, my child just doesn't like to read. Can you help me? And that is always a very fun thing. Like, yes, I can help you. I will find you a book. I promise. So
Yeah.
That's a superpower.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
I think one of my weirder skills that have come from it, and you two call it weird as well, is being able to hold on to numbers really well in my head.
Yes, it is eerie.
I maintain that comes from library world and like holding on to call numbers and library card numbers and all of that, because this was not something I could do in college. I would have loved to be able to do this in college. Really, really nice.
Absolutely.
But I have like a really good head for numbers and dates now that high school me would be so jealous of.
Totally. I did a Minecraft program when I was working at another library and had never played Minecraft before at all, but knew that it was popular, and fortunately there was a page at the library who was very well versed in Minecraft, and so he sat down and trained me. And then I was able to have a weekly Minecraft program that the kids absolutely loved, and now I play Minecraft with my kids, so it worked out pretty well.
Programming in general just gives you so many weird skills, including just the ability to event plan like no other.
Yes.
I remember when I started doing story times as a brand new librarian, and it would take so long to plan, and now I'm like, okay, a few of them take longer to plan, but certain story times I can plan a good story time so quickly. And then that translates outside of this. I also coach color guard. I can plan a rehearsal really quickly. I can plan our fundraisers really quickly. Mm-hmm. Tie in the marketing stuff that I do. I can do like all of my flyers and stuff on Canva really easily and really quickly. So that's been really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I think the thing that seems least like a superpower to the outside world, but like isn't the most rare of qualities, is the whole being comfortable saying, I don't know.
Yes.
Because people come to us expecting us to be able to provide them with answers, and we love being able to do that, but that doesn't make us authorities on any of them. So they'll come in with their relatively niche questions, and we have to be really confident with, I don't know, but let's find out.
Yes.
And let's like poke around and figure out how to find an answer. And it's something that I've learned dealing with my family more than anything else, is that none of them are really comfortable not knowing things.
Okay. Yeah. Like saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the whole thing with librarians is we don't have to know everything. We just have to know how to find the answers to everything.
Exactly. Definitely. Well, I think that it's important to say that, like, out of all of these things, the weird events and the odd things that we didn't think that we really needed for our jobs, they really make what we do for a living really very fun for us. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's just better people in general.
The things that I tell people about, like, people are like, oh, what do you do for work? Or how was your day at work? The things that I tell people are the weird, bizarre ones that you wouldn't expect, because they're the most fun. They're the most interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if we ever get bored, we can just change our entire workflow.
Absolutely.
and plan new programs and acquire new collections and completely revamp what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, that is all for now, and we will see you next time.
So we We've been doing a Q&A, so
Yeah.
if anybody has a question, I have a microphone. Is this part of the podcast, the
No.
Q&A? No, it's not. Okay. I can start. So we had a gentleman here earlier who was lamenting to me that he has several old home movies, including some of his grandfather that date to like the mid-1920s. And he was wondering where he would go to convert these things. So I had no idea that was something you guys do.
Yeah, so
What's the process if you have old home movies?
So that's not at Bloomfield, that's at Troy Library.
Okay.
And Birmingham, yes.
Okay.
But they have a few laptops that are set up with the installation package to use the equipment. And then it's basically just things that the library has where they'll have the VCR and the connector to put it in the computer. Or I think they have that for VHS, reel-to-reel, camcorder tapes, and audio cassettes. So you can just hit play on it and record it to the computer and then save it digitally and take it home with you.
Very cool. Any other questions?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you guys know when to end? Where's the clock? How are you watching that?
That guy right there. Well, just
Oh.
today he kind of popped into the hallway and he started waving at us. But when we're
there's
in the
not a-
room, there are monitors, and sometimes what we'll do is we'll ask for like a 5-minute, just a little warning so that we know if we're filling time or if we're close, that kind
And they
of thing.
just type messages to us.
Yeah.
Some of us also run a timer on our phones in front of us. So
Yeah, what their messages tend to be is we count to half an hour because that's what we generally like the episode lengths to be. So they'll give us a 10-minute, 5-minute warning and just let us know, hey, you're getting close. And then, we can keep going if we don't feel we're finished with the topic yet.
Sure.
But once we start getting those notices, it'll be like, okay, we can feel good about the episode at this point.
Yes.
How long did it take you to prepare for this podcast, and what is your process for coming up with topics typically?
So the whole thing in general, we started talking about in May of 2023 and then started doing recordings in October of 2023. We
it right
meet,
there. That's
yes,
what it
that's what they look like when they give us things in the podcast room. When we started getting into the cycle of actually recording, we meet generally like a week before to kind of decide which topics we're going to do that week, or that month rather. But we have a running list of different things that we've been like, this would be interesting to talk about, that would be interesting to talk about. We also know on our calendar which episodes are getting released when. So we record ahead of things. We've already recorded our October topics a few months back, that sort of thing.
This episode, I think, is coming out December 1st.
Yes.
For those looking to hear your claps on audio.
And we just, pull whichever ones make sense for the next coming dates that need episodes.
Yeah, and sometimes we have topics that are more daunting than others, and so sometimes those get pushed back a little bit, and we'll do it next time, and those will take a little bit more preparation, and sometimes we sit and we worry about how it's going to work out and all of that stuff, but everything has been really, really great.
Yeah. We're also kind of a mix of like planners versus pantsers. So Nicole always comes in with this very lovely outline
It's my sheet.
and all of these points, and this is more notes than I've had for anything that we've ever done. And I don't know what to do with them. So we kind of bring our own process individually, and it's been working so far.
Right?
Yes.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
I have a couple questions, but
Yeah.
the first one is, whose idea was this? How did you come up with the idea? Because I found it very interesting,
Oh, cool.
How did you come up with the idea that people would be interested in what librarians deal with on a daily basis?
I think all of us listen to podcasts, and I tend to like the conversational ones. I think that's more interesting because you're kind of getting to know the people that are talking about the different topics and things like that. I thought in terms of the community and representing the library, this is a great way for people to get to know us in a more personal way instead of just the people that are sitting at the desks that you might ask if you could get Old Yeller from, that kind of thing. So, we have our own very personal responses to things. It's more of an opinion sort of podcast. And I don't know, we have a lot of fun just talking about, whatever we would talk about in our back rooms at work. These are a lot of the topics that we'll bring to the podcast. Things that we feel passionate about at the moment, we'll just bring it into the studio and let everybody hear about it. So
It also helped that Drew and I have been friends for years, even before working at the same library. People have told us on occasion that we should be a sitcom or a reality show or a podcast, and we were like, yeah, that's funny. And they were like, but what if?
Yes.
And Emily and Nicole had already been doing some podcasty type things at the library, and we were like, hey, you want to do this thing with us?
Yeah, it was really like, who wants to do this? And when 4 people raised their hands, it was like, okay, well, I guess that's us.
And we got lucky, and it worked really, really well.
Yeah.
In terms of the approach, we landed on the sort of Distracted label so that we could bounce around and do different things. Episode to episode, we figured it would get a little dry, not only for the listeners, but for us if all we were doing is talking about library functions
Or
and
books.
Yeah.
So we talk about games and music and a lot of other media too. Yeah.
That's interesting. I love the squirrel story. But and my second question is, because you said that you record multiple episodes at a monthly. How do you break those out and then you decide that which shows they're going to be? But then who pushes it out to like the Spotify's and all of those other podcasts?
Yeah, so we use Podbean, which is like a streaming service for podcasts, and it's been really helpful to us. It's relatively inexpensive, so if podcasting is something that you're interested in, there is that service. There are other streaming services available too that you could look into, but we just wanted something that was going to be able to fill the need for us to get it to as many different podcasts, wherever you find podcasts out there.
But in terms of who pushes it out, that's really us.
Yeah, any of us at any time.
Steve and BCTV will take the files and get them to us in what is ready to be put out, and then we'll upload it to Podbean and send it to Rev to get captioning done, and upload it ourselves, do the marketing for it through the library accounts.
Yes.
And part of the reason that we do all of that is because we wanted to have control over our release and all of that, and also our stats, because I am kind of a stats nerd, and it's the marketing thing.
Yeah.
So that access was really important to us. But BCTV also has it on their YouTube channel and hosts it there for us as well.
Yeah, and BCTV is able to, I believe you guys have a Podbean, you have some of those services. So if you did a podcast through them, it would, it's up to you. You can do it yourself, or you can have them put it out for you too.
Yeah, their podcast is a bit of a unique situation where
Yes.
they handle all of that, but that is something we do for all the other community producers as well. We can handle the maintenance of uploading and distribution. So. Any other questions?
If you were interviewing someone, I think this is a question more for you guys, and you wanted to include B-roll, do you have to have the B-roll before you do the podcast or after, like as you're rewatching it and trying to figure it out, like, or can you even add B-roll to the podcast?
Would you rather tackle this? Sure. So the answer is, yeah, we can absolutely include B-roll, and if it's B-roll that the guest you're interviewing needs to be able to watch alongside you, then you need to have it done beforehand. If it's something that can be gathered after the fact, or it's not necessary for that, it can be done in post. So. Is that agreeable, Steve? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Has doing your own podcast changed the way that you listen to your favorite podcasts at all? Or
Kind
not
of,
really?
yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think it makes it more enjoyable because I know the amount of work that's involved behind it too. So I'm like, I know what you're doing.
It's made me a lot more interested in the conversational ones.
Yeah.
Because what I tended to do with podcasts were either the the ones that were, sort of radio stories.
Okay.
Or the ones that were about media that I really liked, like all of the ones that are popping up these days with actors of former shows going through and doing rewatches of them. I still do really love those. Mm-hmm. But the more general conversational ones I wasn't into until we started this.
Okay.
It also, any craft type thing, they tend to say, like, yes, if you want to make something, you kind of have to consume that media as well to learn about it. Great writers read a lot.
Yeah.
Great painters see other people's paintings a lot.
Yeah.
You learn by seeing other people do things and mimicking the parts of it you like, or expanding on the things that you like and making decisions to not do the things that you don't like. Mm-hmm. So that really, I think we bring all of the pieces that we like about different things to this podcast.
Sure. And we're always changing too. As we move forward, I know there are things that we would like to kind of make adjustments to as we go along that we weren't aware of when we first started the podcast, because, I had never been in front of a microphone before, let alone ready to have a whole conversation for 30 minutes that people are going to listen to. So now that, we've been doing this for a little while, there are little things that we take from other podcasts, or I don't know, maybe we should make this a little bit shorter, or we should make adjustments here, and that has been helpful. I can see that we're adapting and we're evolving.
We also never stop being just like looking at the numbers of people listening and going, oh, like people like us. Cool.
It's surprising.
So
really. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Two more things. So why audio only instead of doing the video as well along with audio?
I think at the start it was just what we were comfortable with.
Yes.
None of us came into this with any sort of media experience, and I think the audio only was a nice measured step that we could take that wasn't the whole hog, as it were.
Yes.
So you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, there's something a little safer about it, knowing not like which camera am I supposed to look at, that kind of stuff. So.
And do you have another question? You have a question? Sorry. Let me do this real quick though. But earlier in the Canvas segment that Amy did, she was talking about marketing your podcast. Well, I believe Killian probably did this, right?
Nope. No? One of our admin clerks actually did our logo and our flyers.
Mm-hmm. So they have their podcast name, Distracted Librarians, and
we have business cards too, if anybody wants one.
So we'll pass those out there at the end for you.
I have some. Beautiful.
So there you go. So make sure you grab that on the way out.
You're supposed to have them with you. I know.
I'm not sure if my question is for you or them, but so you were to ask them about why did they just focus on audio. So there's another option of having video as well, like where you can see the podcasters? Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean?
Yes, most of our podcasts we were corrected. It's vodcast if you're using video. So probably about 95% of our studio podcast shows are vodcast, so it's audio and video. And this show is, and I thought there was one, and one more. Let's Plant Houses are the only two audio only, so a true podcast with just audio files. So, but mostly all the other shows, not mostly, but all the other shows are video and audio. So it's like an interview. So we have 3 cameras, so technically there's a lot more cameras in here today, but there's actually only 3 of them that are running right now. So one would focus on a close-up of the person on that side of the table. The other camera focuses on close-up on the person on this side. And the camera in the back is like the wide shot, establishing shot. So as the action's happening, we're cutting that. So we did actually record video today of them, and I thought they did really well, so they might want to change their mind.
I would have talk to us about that, Steve.
We'll have a conversation.
I would have loved to put it on these monitors as we're switching, but I think it would have been very distracting. So most of the shows that we do, we just show either the B-roll that they want to see, or we use this as like a teleprompter. You could have, if you have a script you want to do, we have a teleprompter, or we'll use it as time cues only, and that's a lot less distracting for all the hosts that are volunteering their time. But there are a few hosts that want to see the program. They want to know like what camera's being live at that time. Yeah, no problem. So, does that answer your question? Yeah. So you have the option, either doing like a video, audio show, or just audio only. Or you could just do a silent film too, as you saw in the film documentary.
said you've been surprised at the growing audience. What kind of numbers, feedback do you get? What?
The nice thing about Podbean, the service that we use, is they give us statistics on, first day, first week, first month. We are able to look and see what areas of the country or outside of the country people are listening to us from. So we have viewers, they're not really, we have audience members that are in Europe, that are in different countries, which that makes me really excited because like how on earth did they find us, for one thing? But second of all, we might have a little bit more appeal, outside of this community, and that's exciting.
And it's been really interesting. There's one episode that we did that on YouTube just really got a ton of views on it. Our episode about guilty pleasure reading and watching and listening and stuff has almost 200 views on it. And that's not where the rest of them are. And we're just like, oh, okay, cool. So. Yep,
I don't want to make it sound like we've made it, quote unquote.
Oh, no,
we're still a little baby community podcast.
10 people listening to us is pretty good, but
we're seeing the growth in it as we go through the year.
So I have a question about how people like to access these episodes, which maybe have some insight from this or maybe from media in general. So you're putting this out on all podcast platforms through Podbean, like Apple, Spotify, etc. And then the township is also doing the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Which is why it makes sense that they're like, why don't you be on camera? Because we're on YouTube.
It's a cable TV.
Yeah. Well, but also YouTube is wildly popular. So
sure,
that makes sense. I think most people have a platform they go to. So do you compare the numbers between the two to see where are your listeners? What is their preferred platform?
We are able to do that.
Yeah, Podbean gives us a breakdown of how episodes are being accessed that are put out through Podbean. YouTube just has its normal YouTube analytics, so we have access to looking at those. But what's the most? Mostly it is Apple, I believe, is pretty consistently the most popular. There's been a little bit of some shuffling around as Google Podcast went away because that one was showing up a little bit higher for a little while. Yeah. But then Google Podcast went away and now it's just YouTube Music. So, and I don't think that goes through Podbean anymore. I think that's just through the YouTube channel, which changes things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Apple and Spotify of the places people get podcasts tend to be the most popular, for us at least.
As far as podcasts, just doing it without video, I didn't want to say no because, as I've said to some of you, I like to say yes to everything. And the library has been a tremendous partner for many, many years, long before I was here. And we wanted to be able to do the show that they wanted to do. But we are here because of cable. And because we broadcast video on cable, so we really try and encourage, as we still try to encourage you to do the video. I think that we are, we are evolving, and so that we can do media in all other ways as well. But I think we need to remember, and I need to remember, and this is part of what I learned in coming here, is that we are video and cable first for the foreseeable future until the funding changes, and however that's going to happen. It's still evolving as the whole industry is being disrupted right now. All of entertainment, everything, the way it's produced, the way that contracts are made with actors, it's all kind of in flux right now. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
For doing our podcast. And I hope that many of you who came and were a part of today will tell your neighbors about us, and we'll see you doing your own podcasts in the future. And if you have any questions for us, did you have something else?
They can always help volunteer behind the scenes too.
Yes. But that's right. That's where Steve likes to be most of the time. So you'd be with Steve all the time, and that would be a good place to be as well. So thank you all for coming. And we're going to send out a short survey so you can give us feedback on how we did today and what you'd like to see more in the future. So thanks very much.
Cool.